Hello, General Biology. This is our first in our climate change videos, and this one's going to be over sea level rise. There's a lot of different components to climate change, and we're starting with sea level. So, who collects data about sea level? Well, there are two major organizations that do that, two major entities. One is scientists, and one group of scientists that gets pretty reliable data is NASA. And another group that gets data about sea level is sea level from the past is determined by historians. So how do they do that? Well, NASA scientists send satellites up into space to take measurements down at the Earth to determine how high the sea level is. And historians, unlike they don't have satellites and they don't have a time machine, they have to go back in time, they have to make observations and infer what the sea level was like. And they do that by looking at things that humans have constructed in the past, like wells, which had to be above the ocean, and fish tanks, which had to be part under the ocean, but a part above the ocean. And so they could estimate where it should be. We can also look at things like fossils and say, well, if there was an aquatic fossil here, this area was underwater at some point. And through that, we can make estimates about what sea level was in the past. So what did they observe when they took these measurements? Well, scientists with their satellites since 1992 have found that sea level has been rising 3.1 millimeters per year. And this is actually much higher than it has raised in the past. So historians say that, yeah, sea level has been rising, but it's been rising very slowly. And then there was this period where it was pretty flat. And now suddenly sea levels are rising dramatically. Well, what does that mean for organisms? Well, let's take a look. Here's a little animation that kind of shows what sea level was like in Venice, Louisiana. It starts in the 1950s, and there's a lot of land, but as sea levels continue to rise, since then, more and more of that land is taken away. This can have a couple of effects. One, there's more space for aquatic organisms, so perhaps aquatic organism populations will increase. But at the same time, along the coast, there's less space for coastal organisms, so those populations are likely to decrease. Furthermore, there's a second effect of higher sea levels, and that is stronger storm surges in hurricanes and other aquatic storms. So these aquatic storms will be more powerful, which means there will be a greater ecological disturbance every time these storms with these surges occur. So let's review. About sea level rise, NASA has been collecting sea level data in recent decades, while historians have studied sea level throughout history. And NASA uses satellites to study sea level today, while historians use ancient wells and fish tanks and fossils and geographic watermarks to just estimate the sea levels of the past. Scientists have observed that the sea levels are rising at approximately 3.1 millimeters per year. And when compared to the past, that rise in the past 200 years has been much more dramatic than it was in the 2,000 years before that. And this has consequences to ecosystem. Rising sea levels can increase the population of aquatic organisms by providing more space. It can also reduce the population of coastal animals by removing space. Also, higher sea levels can cause storm surges that make coastal storms more powerful, such as hurricanes, making them stronger ecological disturbances. I hope this helps. Struggle well.